This is Bill Gross, the LA probate expert, and this is our Tuesday real estate investing Zoom. You can find it at realestateinvestingzoom.com. We get together every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to talk about all things real estate investing, whether you're looking to get started, doing your first deal, experienced investor looking to meet with some bird doggers and wholesalers and such, real estate agent, vendor. We get together to make more income and increase our wealth. A little bit of housekeeping here is for security reasons. A lot of you are muted when you come in. If you want to participate, we'd love you to participate. You can raise your hand on the Zoom call, put a note in the chat box. If you could start a question with a Q or question, that way it'll be more obvious for me. You're welcome to promote yourselves as well. If you're watching on live on the YouTube or Facebook, we do pick up the comments there as well. So put comments in and we'll try to respond to them. Today, I'm really excited to have a woman who is, in addition to being a legit woman, who's also a colleague of mine and a partner in some businesses, and has become over the last, 8, 10 years, a close personal friend, her and her family and my family, a real estate broker, and more importantly for this phone call, successful real estate investor, Annabelle Pacheco. Say hi, say hi, Annabelle.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And Annabelle, you're coming to us today from where?
I'm in Walnut. I'm here in Walnut, California.
Walnut, California. And so before we get into kind of what you're doing real estate-wise, let's give a little background. Where'd you grow up? And then how'd you get into real estate? And then how'd you get into investing?
Ooh, okay. So I grew up, so is everyone from California here, or are you guys from, no? Yeah?
Mostly, but not all.
Okay, cool. So I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I was born in Encino, California. I went to school, private school out there my entire life, and then graduated. My senior year, my parents decided to buy a house out in Walnut, which was really the boondocks back, 30 some years ago. And, but you know what, we were all excited. We were moving into a brand new home, and I was going to have my, own, just get to decorate and do all those fun things. And I didn't care that I was going to have to commute, and until I started to commute, and I did commute to Studio City for an entire year, my senior year. I didn't want to disrupt my, just being around my friends and doing the stuff that we do as teenagers. I figured, you know what, I'll just deal with it. And I did the commute. And honestly, thinking now, I'm like, that was actually kind of a good thing that I pushed myself to do something hard at a young age, because life is hard. There's nothing easy about it. And you know what? It just subconsciously prepared me for all the things that have happened in my life. And anyway, so graduated, I did not want to go anywhere far. I decided that I was going to go to school, community college, which was literally like 3 minutes away from my home. The last thing I wanted to do was commute. And so
shout out to Mount Sac.
Shout out to Mount Sac. And so I went there for, my undergrad or AA and finished, and then prepared myself again for the commute. Went to USC.
Fight on.
I did not want to live on campus. I was too comfortable here at home and wanted to just, I'll make the commute, and did. And let's see. And then, I graduate. I graduated with a BS in marketing, and I went and I applied, and I got my first job in marketing, and the worst 2 years of my life. I thought, wait a minute. I just graduated from SC to do this. I'm like, no way, I can't handle this. It just wasn't my thing. And I felt like no matter what I did, I was going to get the same amount of income, right? Because it was just a salary, and no matter how hard I worked, that was it. And you know what? I only lasted there 2 years to realize that that just wasn't for me. And I got married, kind of didn't know what I wanted to do for about a year until I figured it out. And my husband comes to me and he says, my friends they're doing loans, and they're doing really well. And this is in the early 90s. And I'm like, loan? I'm like, I don't know anything about that. And he says, well, look into it. Contact, here's one of the branch managers, and, reach out to them and see what you can do if you're interested. And so I did. I reached out and I pretty much called the manager there and said, hey, I'd like to learn how to do loans. You don't need to pay me anything. Just give me an opportunity. And so he's like, all right, come on down. And I started working there. And the beauty of knowing two languages, I was the only Spanish speaking person there, and they serviced loans. And guess what? All Spanish speaking clients were sent to me. And it was an opportunity to basically, this is what I would say to myself. I'm getting paid to learn. I'm getting paid to learn because I wasn't making any money, right? This is commission only. But I started and I, ask a ton of questions and then hang up and say, I'll call you back. And then I'd go to the manager or somebody that knew what was going on and ask them, what do I need to do? And anyway, just went through the process. I wasn't afraid. I just put myself out there and just learned how to do it. And I was doing this in the 90s, refinancing families at 9.5% fixed rates.
And people loved it.
They were super happy.
People loved it. People were killing to get 9.5%. They were waiting in line to get 9.5%. They were begging to close at 9.5%. It was sick.
I'm really, this is for reals. I mean, it was 9.5. We're like, yes, I want to get this done because interest rates were adjusting. A lot of homeowners had adjustable rates, and those rates were just going up and going up. And they're like, you know what? I want to go to bed at night knowing what my mortgage payment is, and I don't want this. It's going to go up. And what happens if it goes up to 10, 11, or 12? So,
well, hold on. Let me just explain for the new people. So this was a time when a lot of the mortgages that were written were adjustable. And you'd buy a house with a low rate that was called a teaser rate, maybe 3 or 4%, but it would jump up right away to 8 or 9%. And I would say at least half of all mortgages done in California in that market were adjustable. And then people be in them for a year or two, the house went up in value, and they'd say, no, we want to lock in a rate. And they would jump up maybe to 9.5% because they had bought when it was 11 or 12. To them, 9.5 was cheap, but it was better than the adjustable loan. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no people getting adjustable mortgages jumping out of it. But that was what was happening back then. So go ahead. So you're doing refinances.
So I was doing refinances, and then around that same time, the real estate market was it was really good for rehab and flip opportunities. My husband's a general contractor, and we had friends. We had a mentor who had been doing a lot of flips, and we thought, all right, you know what? Let's look into this opportunity. And we began finding properties to invest in. My husband would handle the repairs, and I would handle the loan. So we pretty much kind of controlled everything. We made sure that this was going to get done, and we just started to focus. I kind of deviated from just doing loans for other clients. I was really focusing on our rehab and flips. And year to date, we've done over 100 flips, rehab and flips, and we also managed a couple of 2 to 4 units that we came across in those days, and obviously sold everything. And let's see, I deviated. So then the market shifted a bit, and I could not find these opportunities. I mean, we were buying homes. If you guys know where Compton is at, that was our area. We loved it. It was awesome. I mean, it was just those were beautiful times. We would buy homes for like $80,000 and turn around and sell them for about $140,000 to $150,000, and probably put in like $10,000 to $15,000 on repairs. I mean, it was really, really nice. And so we did that, and obviously accumulated capital. And then what was it, around 2004 about 2004, market dried up, and we thought, shoot, what are we going to do now?
Now, when you say dried up, what you mean to say is kind of like now, the market got hot, people were bidding up prices, there were homes being sold, but you couldn't find opportunities at the margins you wanted, right?
Correct. Thank you.
Okay. Just like
And
now.
just like now. And so we deviated from real estate, and my husband and I decided to open up and build from ground up a Cuban restaurant. Yeah.
How do you make a small fortune? You start with a large fortune and put it into a restaurant.
Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea how hard it was, but you know what? Again, these are things that we have to go through in life to make you a stronger and wiser person. And I look at all of this as, we had to go through this to get to where we're at today. And I'm grateful and thankful. There were some great times, but definitely a very hard rush. I mean, we built the restaurant from ground up, had a total of about 15 staff, including like chefs, servers, and managers. It was 150 capacity restaurant.
Hold on for a second. Just by watching this, do you notice how she's still trying to sell us that it was the right decision? Keep going, Annabelle. Go ahead. Just pay attention. She's still trying to convince herself it was really a smart thing here. But go ahead, Annabelle. Go ahead.
So anyway, where was I saying? We had 150 capacity, full liquor license, dancing. It was like,
Okay, but you lost your rear end in it. We just cut to the chase here.
We had to keep the restaurant for 8 years in order to get it to actually produce, right, for us to be able to sell, because you can't sell a restaurant like you can a house. It has to have income, and you have to show that to the new buyer, and the buyer will buy based on the income. So 8 years of sacrifice and hard work. 2010, handed over the key to the new owner, and wow, like, you guys ever had a lot of stress and felt the stress, like literally like all over your body, including your face? Well, it's the craziest thing that when we closed escrow and I literally handed over that key, for once I was able to take a deep breath and like really let it out, and all this weight or stress on my face was gone. So it was definitely a challenge, and super happy that I got out of that. And 2010, I have been doing real estate, representing clients in both residential, commercial, and it's just been amazing. I've learned so much, and we learn from our mistakes. Obviously, in 2000 and about 2008, also made some bad business decisions. We lost a lot of money, and was just in a situation where I'm like, okay, I need to figure a way to get out of this, and just focused 100% on real estate and learned how to do it the right way, and have been successful really in the business for the last 12, 13 years.
So the last 12, 15 years, primarily as a salesperson, helping families sell houses and buy houses, including investors on flips.
Correct.
And then at one point you decided that you wanted to get into investing in multifamily properties.
That is correct. So around 2000, in 2010, when I pretty much had to start all over again, I knew I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I was trying to find, a way to, I wanted to invest our money in something that would produce cash flow, right? And also that generational wealth. And so we decided that we were going to go into multifamily. And it took me about 4 to 5 years to reach that goal. So as I'm working and hustling in the real estate business, representing buyers, sellers, alongside, I'm also preparing to purchase my multifamily. And I knew I had a couple, there's a couple opportunities of me to create some capital that I knew were there available. And so I was very careful in how I did that, because I knew that the goal was we needed to have capital to invest in multifamily. And so throughout those years, I was, representing clients, and I had a couple of opportunities for flips. When you're a listing agent or when you're on the phone prospecting, it's just very natural to sometimes come across opportunities. And if you're knowledgeable of the market, when it is a good opportunity.
So let's just stop right there for a second, because that's a really important point, is that the reason why many people get into real estate as agents is, in addition to making your income as agents, you're looking for opportunities for wealth building as an investor. And so you can do both in the right circumstances, the right way, and those opportunities present themselves to her and me occasionally, but present themselves to her. So again, they're not mutually exclusive, but you have to be careful in how you do it properly and disclose and such. But as an agent, she kept her eyes open for those opportunities. And I know this because at that time, I sat across the aisle from her. We're in the same office, different cubicle, and we were talking almost daily about these things. So go ahead.
Yeah. And so, so I think I did a couple of flips. I had some flip opportunities during that 5-year period, which allowed me to create some good capital. And then we had a property that we were renting, high-end property we were renting out. And I made sure, since the market was, this was the time, again, remember, the market was not doing very well. Well, we got a really good tenant, and I just kind of kept that property rented out until I knew it was time to sell so that I could cash out. And with that cash plus what I had created from my flips, I was able to, we were ready and in a position to go out and search for multifamily property.
So you had your nest egg. Now, a great question from Ashika. Do you think that those who are not licensed real estate agents are a disadvantage to understanding and growing in real estate investment?
I don't think so. I think that if you connect, again, and I've talked about this on my multifamily call, I think that you don't have to necessarily be a licensed real estate agent to come across deals, but I think that you need to connect with different real estate agents and different people out in the world, because all of this is relationship. If you connect with me and we happen to we talk, something can pop up and I can say, hey, you know what? I have a deal. Are you interested? And here you go. So I don't think you have to have a license. I just think you have to have relationship with agents in markets that you're interested in purchasing.
I would add to that, or maybe similarly say, you don't have to. I know a lot of very wealthy investors who aren't licensed, but the more you learn, the better you are. The more resources you have, the more tools you have, the more successful you'll be. And so that's one set of tools. I don't know anything about contracting. I don't even know how to hammer. So I learned a lot, and we're focused on my education as my superpower, my tool. Whatever you do, if you're not get licensed, that's fine, but you better find something else that you bring to your business, some resource, some tools, other than being licensed, and there's other ones you can choose from. So I'd say it. Okay, so Annabelle, now we've got our nest egg together. And before you go any further, both of us are part of the Grant Cardone program. We both have been to Florida and seen Grant in person. You most recently, me, at the end of last year. And one of the things Grant says is that you make your income, and then you make excess income, more than you spend, and use that excess to invest in real estate. That your job or your business is for the purpose of paying for your life and building the money which you invest in real estate. And then the real estate provides cash flow, so eventually you can live on that cash flow instead of the money you make your job. That's the goal of the game. And so now you don't need to have a nest egg to invest in multifamily, but with it you have more resources, right? And so now the way you want to do it, you had this nest egg to get started with. How much money did you need to get started with between your initial investment and reserves and such, at least that you felt comfortable with?
I want to say we probably started with about 500 or 600,000.
Okay, that's a big chunk. And for most people, that might be on their reach within a couple of years, right? But certainly you can build towards that. And there are people who have that chunk, whether it be in retirement or inheritance one time or solar property one time they're living in, and can re-implement that money into another area of their life. So you had $500,000. So what's the next step?
So the next step was, okay, I identified where I was going to invest. And again, sometimes it's you don't want to reinvent the wheel. If you know someone that has invested in a certain location, then you know what? Just go to that location, right? If they're doing really well there, just go to that location. We had a mentor who had invested in Dallas. And so, you know what? We just said, all right, we're going to go to Dallas. And again, prior to actually pulling the trigger and purchasing property out there, we studied the market. I went out to Dallas a couple of times, and maybe a couple years before we actually bought, to become familiar with the area, with the market, right? You want to understand what are the good areas, like where you want to be, right? Where are the good areas? What are the bad areas? And just we're looking and actually walking into apartment complexes to see what the Dallas market was like. And then in 2015, we came across, it's just, you know what? And I just sometimes feel like, man, you're at the right place at the right time. And we happened to be in Dallas one of the times that we were there. And I picked up my phone, and I was always looking on online. And I looked at LoopNet, and I see a property pop up, 34 doors in Grand Prairie, Texas. And I tell my friend, I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? And he's like, oh, that's not a bad area. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to go see it. We have to go see it. I dragged everybody. Let's go. Went to go see it. And when we saw it, we're like, okay, this looks good. Now, it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't, a class A property. This is a class C minus, maybe I would say like a C minus at that point, but I have the background of rehabbing and flipping. So it's very easy for me to see something and know, like, okay, this is a good opportunity. Plus, I had already been studying the market. I knew what rents were going through. Like what, people were paying, and I knew kind of what the market was like, and it just made sense. And so we decided, okay, this is a good opportunity. I'm going to call the agent. And when I called the agent happened to be the owner of the property. And I was an agent buyer, right? Looking to buy his property. So we hit it off, had a great conversation, and really we didn't need representation. We each kind of represented ourselves. And I was able to ask him to see if he'd be interested in carrying a note. So basically like financing the deal for me.
So hold on for a second. Let's explain what that means so to people understand. So the owner, he was selling the property for how much was he asking for?
$850.
But he only owed how much on the property?
He probably owed very little, just very,
let's say $100,000.
Uh-huh.
So you can either pay him $800,000 and get your own financing in cash, or you can give him an amount of money and he'll agree to lend you the difference, him or herself, and then you pay them some agreed upon rate of interest. That's called carrying back. And sometimes sellers are glad to do that because they like the cash flow, or they only pay taxes when you pay them off. So looking for property that has a lot of equity creates the opportunity to ask the question, would you consider carrying back? Annabelle saw that, made that request, and what did the seller say?
Yes. And mind you, our mentor was like, are you crazy? Don't even ask. You're going to lose this opportunity. People are just, just get your financing and don't even worry about it. And I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? He says, no. And then I'll go the traditional way. And I probably could have gone the traditional way, but you know what? I was overwhelmed with purchasing my first deal. I didn't want to go through the bank, and I probably could have done it for a lot less down payment, but I had the money to give him, and I still had enough money to do my repair. It was just easier. And you know what? It worked out amazing. It worked out great. So we went through the process, we purchased the property, and let's see here. So we had 2 years, we had a 2-year note with him. So immediately, like literally the next day, we closed escrow. Oh, let me pause for a second. Always be prepared for the worst in multifamily, because the worst will happen. Okay. Don't come into the deal with limited funds and or the idea that you will fix the property with the rental, with the cash flow.
With all the income coming in.
With all the income coming in,
Right.
because you won't survive and the property won't, it just won't happen.
Well, to that, let's stop for 1 second, because she asked another great question. She got her hand up, but she also asked in the chat box, does it make sense to buy a property using funds from a Heloc? Right. Now, the question with a home equity line of credit, meaning could you borrow money against your residence and use that money as your down payment on your investment? The only problem is how you make the payments on the line of credit, because if the property is not yet yielding cash flow, if you're investing in it, now you're paying in your investment and you've got to pay in your line of credit. So I would say to you, you can, as long as you have a plan that covers all those expenses, because where people get in trouble is they run out of money on the investment and they don't have income to pay the line of credit. They can't afford that. Now you've got investment that you have to sell on the cheap, and or a house you have to sell on the cheap, and that's where people get in trouble. Ashika, does that answer your question, or what else?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. I think my question was also because I work a full-time day job, but the goal is really to escape the hamster wheel and be able to live more freely. So that's kind of that was the reason I was thinking, if I take a HELOC, then at least I can make the payments from my 9 to 5 and then continue this sort of side hustle for now. But my question was more, thank you for answering that one. I just have one more question for Annabelle regarding the carrying back. So I'm assuming this is not through like a lender or an institution. So do you just make legal agreements between yourself? So you just get a lawyer to draft paperwork between yourself and the owner?
Correct. Yes. So in Texas, there is really no escrow. It's attorneys and title company. And the attorney that we used prepared the note, the document, secured everything. And that's it. We closed escrow.
If I could just clarify a little bit. So when people say we don't use escrow in other states, we use attorneys, in essence, escrow in California is really a specialized attorney who only does real estate transactions. They really are like an attorney. They're a third party, independent, that handles the paperwork and the money. And so normally, we as realtors, there's a contract form we can write that has the note terms, and we can negotiate with the buyer and the seller those terms, and then we give that to the escrow company, and they will, here in California, create, almost any escrow company will create the note deed of trust from those forms. So there are California forms, and in other states they have other forms. But yeah, it's a standardized process that escrow holders or real estate attorneys in other states can prepare those documents for. It's not like you're hiring a special attorney. It's the same attorney that's going to handle your escrow. Okay, so now, I'm sorry, are we good, Shika? Okay.
Yes,
so
thank
now,
you so much.
Yeah, so now we have the money and we are negotiating the deal with the seller.
Yeah, so then we negotiate the deal, we finalize everything, and we close escrow. And I swear, I feel like he was holding up that property with gum, because literally the day we closed escrow, everything fell apart in that property. We had like a main sewer burst in one of the buildings. Like just everything you can imagine happened. So that's why I'm saying you have to have sufficient reserves, right, for your repairs plus any like accident or anything like a big capital expenditure that you did not even factor in. And so we began, our goal was we're going in, we're going to give 30-day notices, and we're vacating everyone or as many as we can. I think we did like the first 10 units, which are our largest ones. We started everybody got a 30-day notice. And as we're moving people out, we start rehabbing the units. And the beauty of this is that when we had 34 doors, there were tenants in the 1 bedrooms that wanted to upgrade to the 2 bedrooms and didn't care. They were willing to pay market price because they're moving into a really nice unit. I mean, we went all out. We had brand new cabinets, bathrooms and kitchens, new flooring, paint, new light fixtures. I mean, it was brand new. Everything, you walked in and it was a new unit.
Now, again, just to clarify, this is Texas where you can give notices and move tenants out. In California, it's not that simple. It's a much more complicated, prolonged process at best, if at all, during COVID at all, it's impossible. So again, this was not during COVID, and this was in Texas, not California, which is why so many multifamily investors choose to invest certainly outside of LA and for the most part outside the state. Okay, continue.
I want to look for a friendly land, like a friendly landward state, right?
Not
And
California.
Texas, not California. And Texas was one. And so what else? Where was I?
You remodeled, you started the remodeling process and upgrading.
Started
tenants.
remodeling, yes. And then as soon as we're done with the remodels, we're starting to now fill these units up and people were very, very excited, and the same tenants moved into the 2 bedrooms. So it's not like we had to go out and pay for ads to get tenants. I mean, no, it just kind of happens from your building. And if the tenants see that you are taking care of the property, that you're actually like you care about them, they're good, right? And they'll stay and they will refer other people. So since we acquired this property and we fixed it, we always had a waiting list. Very few units remained vacant for a long time. Sometimes it was just while we were fixing it up or cleaning it up for the next tenant to move in. And it just, a slow process, but you know what? We moved right through it. And I want to say that we probably did about 70% of the building was completely rehabbed. We had other big ticket items that needed to be addressed immediately, and like a new boiler and new roofs on 2 buildings. I mean, there's a lot of stuff and all this adds up. The money was just, it was a lot of money. It was very expensive. And then let's see. So we've had the property for about 2015, 7 years. And I decided to put it on the market. And
Well, before we go there, so how long was it? She was asking, did you keep vacancy reserves? You didn't put your last dollar in the deal.
say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
She's asking you, do you keep vacancy reserves?
Yes. I mean, you always want to keep some reserves there. Yes.
And did you keep like in a separate account for that property, or do you keep it in your,
Yes. Yes.
And how long was it before you finished your rehab and stabilized the rent and got new tenants in and were kind of stabilized?
So we were, okay, so yeah, let me go back. So we purchased the property in 2015. We went in, fixed it, and by year 2, we were able to refinance, pay off the seller, and the property appraised at double of what we had paid for it. So we
Okay.
were at about $1.6 million. I paid $850. It appraised for $1.6 million in by year 2.
And how much? And did you get back the money you put in the property?
I got back the money I put into the property plus more. So that property was really, zero money invested in it, and it was producing monthly cash flow.
At the end of 2 years, you get all your money back, plus you're getting cash flow, plus you had tax deduction against your income for the 2-year period that you invested.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the choice to continue making money monthly or sell it and bag another big profit.
Correct. And so,
How good did that feel when you refinanced? When you got that check that day and it closed?
wow. I mean, it was like, shoot, did this really happen? Right? I mean, I had lost so much money, just bad business decisions I had done previously. And but it was just unreal. Like, wow, we finally made a good business decision, and I'm seeing the fruits of that.
So compare that to, you have 3 children?
3 children,
and you have a great husband.
wonderful husband.
He's amazing. He's really
Yeah.
amazing. You really married up
Yes.
well over your head. Great guy. Compare the day you got that check to the day your 3 kids are born and your wedding day. Where's it rank?
Oh gosh, I'm not going to answer that.
How good it feel?
This is recorded. I'm not answering that. But
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
felt good. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sheik has a question.
Sorry, thank you. I just wanted to ask you, when you were looking for this property, did you look for comps where the property that you're purchasing was kind of among the lower end of the spectrum of the comps versus the surrounding area? Because it wouldn't really appraise for higher than the highest comp, right?
Right. Well, here's the beauty with multifamily. Multifamily is not, you don't use comps to determine the value.
Oh,
So multifamily is based on your net operating income and actually what the property produces. So if you, the goal is to always look for a value add opportunity where you can go in there, you can invest and improve its condition, and you can improve the rental income, and that's how you determine the value of your property. That's why when we saw this property, 850 was a lot of money in 2015. Like we were overpaying. Our friend, I think we paid, I don't know if someone can get a calculator, 850, divide that by 34 doors. What is that?
30,000 a door, 25,000 a door,
I think it's more than 25.
26,000. Well, 30,000 would be 900,000.
25,000.
Yeah.
It was 25.
Yeah.
I want to say our friend had bought for like 10,000 a door. And we're like, holy cow, we are overpaying. Right. But then again, we saw the opportunity of, okay, yes, we're overpaying, but we really were looking for cash flow. And if we can go in there, improve these units, increase the rent, we win. Right. We're in a good place.
How many buyers passed on that property at 910, 920, 950 and are kicking themselves, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, and and even I kind of kicked myself because I had someone bring me 100 doors during like my first year that we were remodeling, 100 doors for like 25,000 a door. And I, like, my husband and I, like, every time we think of that, we're like, God, I would be retired by now. I wouldn't have to work anymore. But I guess we just weren't ready, right? It's a lot. It was a lot. And it was our first deal. We were learning, we're going through this process. And so now fast forward, we decided to sell, and the property just did amazing with this market. Everyone knows this market's been super great. It's a seller's market. And sold the property for $2.8 million. And really good investment. And it allowed me to invest in other stuff. I'm invested in multifamily, and also I've invested in hotel development and a parking structure, a 300 space parking structure. And
Don't say it out loud. Somebody might hear you.
why?
You're like scared to say it almost, but you're talking so quietly.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't like to share what I'm doing, but anyway,
She's not here selling anything. She's not selling a coaching program. I dragged her on because we're friends, and I'm going to make her be as successful as she can be. So no, but she's doing it to inspire the next person. I think that's why we do this call, is to say it's all possible. I'm not interested in doing the particular job she did. I don't have that kind of time and those skills. But by investing in multifamily, in fact, we're in one investment together. Because of her, and because we work together as a team in some regards, and all of you as well work together as a team. So when you got the check when you sold the property, that was a bigger check than when you refinanced. How good was that check?
pretty amazing. Like, wow. I'm finally smart. like we finally made a good decision. And I didn't want to sell. My husband was the one that wanted to sell. I'm like, no, I'm fine. We're good. Don't touch it. Don't disrupt. And he's like, no, we want bigger. We want more. And I'm like, okay, what's the plan?
But that check must have been about $1 million.
Over.
How did that check compare to the refinance check?
I'm telling you, it's been fantastic. It's been great. Sometimes I can't even believe that this actually happened to us.
Which is better, that check or one of your 3
I'm not
kids?
I'm
Jonathan,
not answering
Jonathan with a
that.
check. Let's be on certain days. Come on, be honest.
No, that check was pretty amazing. You know, it's like after so many times of like, I almost felt like, man, are we ever going to get this right? You know, like I invested in something and I got some of it, but then it was like not enough or not to this amount, right? It was like, am I ever going to get this right? And honestly, when I made a really bad business decision in 2008 that we lost everything, I honestly didn't even think that I was going to ever make it again. Like in my mind, I thought I was going to have to deal with my new lifestyle, right? Like this new lifestyle where I may no longer be able to travel and I have to just stay home and I'm gonna have to work. And
Can't send your kids to private school. Maybe
actually,
can't send your kids to
my
college. Like you're
Yeah.
faced with a lot of choices you didn't want to make.
a lot of stuff. And, you know, I had to kind of shake it off and say, wait a minute. Okay, I messed up. I've got to recover and I will find a way to recover. And you know what? Nothing is easy in life. Where I'm at today has come with a lot of sacrifice and hard work and pounding the streets and like door knocking, literally door knocking and
Cold calling 3 hours a day.
cold calling. What else? You know, going to different events to learn to just be better. I wanted to be better. And honestly, I met Bill, like 13, 14 years ago? I don't know. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, I think I've told you this, he was instrumental in my business. When I was starting and learning, I remember him telling me, you know, focus on your listing, just learn your listing presentation. And this is for realtors on this call, just learn it. Don't work buyers. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah, no, that part I remember for sure. As a real estate agent, I was just adamant. The leverage of the business is with sellers.
Yeah. And I was like, but Bill, I need money. And he's like, just focus on the listing, focus on the listing. And that was probably the best thing that anyone could have advised me to do. And I listened. I was coachable, very coachable at that time. I was so hungry and I was like in such, like I needed to figure a way to get out of this hole that I was in. And I was willing to do whatever I had to do. And I didn't have time. It was like, okay, fast, tell me what I need to do. Fine, I'll do it. And I remember going home and telling my husband, hey, listen, I'm not going to make any income for at least a year. So just be prepared to like, you got to support me through this. I promise I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything I need to do so that I can like really start making some good money in real estate. And I did. And I put in the time. I learned what I needed to learn and I focused on that. And thank goodness I did. I mean, I where I'm at today comes from all that hard work, right? And just learning about the business and learning about like the bigger stuff in life that I wanted. And I've always been very entrepreneurial. So for me, it was always like trying to find a way to create, you know, additional capital, whether it was through investing or whatever it was.
Okay, you had another question? No?
Was that to me, Bill?
Yeah, did you have another question?
I do have another question. I kind of wanted to ask you what your feedback is on hard money lenders if you don't have large lump sums of cash ready to invest right away. I've always heard that that's a kind of a route you can go, but I know they also charge like really high interest rates, and I feel like they almost sound like really scary loan sharks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I say, you get what you pay for in life. And a real hard money lender, and I've worked with them on flips. I bought a property that I knew I could buy it. I would order 1-800 junk, Molly maids, photos, put in the MLS, and sell it and make about $80,000 in about 45, 60 days. But I needed to borrow about $400,000 or $500,000. And this guy executed, and he convinced the listing agent he could execute. And that was part of the job. And so he made, probably, I want to say 20, 30,000, which is a lot of money, but I got the deal and I got paid and I got a commission on the deal on top of that. So is it worth it? Yeah, if he brings value and helps you buy a property, can otherwise you just factor in the cost and make your profit have to be on top of that. And I just listened to one of the best YouTube I've ever heard on real estate investing by Pace Morby. And he talks about that you have to start with, as a buyer, you just factor in your costs, whatever they are. And you're looking for a deal with a certain profit margin. It doesn't matter how you get there. So if you need a hard money loan, that's just part of your cost, just like lumber or concrete or nails or windows. And if the deal makes a profit, then you do it. If the deal doesn't make you profit in the margin, then you don't. And obviously, someone with cash can afford to buy with tighter margins because their costs are lower like anybody else. Just like a professional tradesman gets a lower cost on his supplier than a retail do-it-yourself fixer-upper. Annabelle, what are your thoughts on hard money loans?
I mean, I think, short term, it makes total sense, financial sense, but long term, no. They will eat away at your profits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was thinking more like just to kind of get that initial sort of like capital going, so you can start putting like large sums of money aside, so then you don't need them anymore.
Well, it's not, hard money loan would not be capital. Hard money loan is debt.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're in the right deal, you don't even need much capital. And if you need some, you find a partner maybe for some of it. But the hard money loan is really the debt on the deal. And if the debt is an expense, and when you calculate your acquisition costs, plus your improvement costs, your carrying costs, your selling costs, and then at the end you have a sale and there's a profit. And part of your cost is the hard money loan. And so sometimes the hard money loan will eat up so much of the profit on a larger project that takes 18 months. When your loan is say 10% or 12%, that hard money loan is way more expensive than on a hard money loan that's maybe 90 days. So you have to factor in the risk. But then the hard money lender will charge points. If you're inexperienced, they might charge you 5 or 10 points. If you're experienced borrower, maybe 1, 2, or 3 points. So you just have to factor in those costs on your deal, factor what your profit should be, and have your margin be what it is, and don't compromise on that. And just know, though, that if your project goes longer, the hard money loan becomes more expensive. So you have to be more careful when you calculate the deal on the bigger the remodel project. You might want to use hard money loans on quick flips, but on a long-term remodel, that's going to be a very expensive way to go.
Thank you. Thanks, both.
Sure. Okay, here's your chance to ask questions. Here's a lady who, like you, at one point, had very little, had plenty of stress, had plenty of responsibilities outside of her business, and knuckled down and made enough money to put aside some money and pursue her dream. And as a result of that, it's done really well, thanks to the support of her amazing husband and while raising 3 amazing kids, she's built an income and some wealth through real estate. Now, I will share with you that Annabelle is on my team as far as real estate at eXp Realty, and she has a show she does every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Multifamily investing, and she'll bring in different companies that have multiple deals, and they'll evaluate different markets. And in fact, I've invested in almost 2 of those guests she's had in their syndication. So if you're looking to invest money but don't want to take on all the responsibility, it's a great way to get started. And she'll also talk to people who do it on their own like she did. So it's every Wednesday at 2 p.m. And the link is in the chat box if you want that. It'll be in the notes as well. Any other questions, raise your hand, or I would say if you're watching live, put in the chat box, or if your video's on, you can wave your hand around and I'll try to catch up with you. Any questions at all for somebody who's really achieved? I know a lot of you have the same dream, and here's a lady who's actually achieved it. Anybody have any questions that I can help with real quick? We covered quite a bit, and Annabelle did a great job explaining front to back. Not seeing any. We're kind of out of time anyhow. So I think we'll just wrap it up. Annabelle, I just want to thank you on behalf of everybody here. I want to thank you for not just working with you, but sharing. I know it's difficult and challenging to share. You're not doing this to sell your coaching program. You're not doing this to sell a book. You're doing this really to come from the heart and help other people. So I know I appreciate it, and I hope all those who are listening appreciate you being vulnerable, sharing with us your trials, tribulations, and victories. And I want to wish you continued success in your journey as an investor and a real estate agent.
Thank you, guys. And if you guys want to hear more about my family, I actually have I've got some great guests coming on the call tomorrow. Join in, come check it out. It'll expose you. It's just going to expose you to more, to learning more about multifamily.
Meet more people, make more money.
That's
So
right.
thank you. We do this. This is our real estate investing Zoom. Sorry, what was that?
I said, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is our real estate investing Zoom. We do this every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Realestateinvestingzoom.com if you want to sign up and join in for us live on the Zoom. We also record it and show it on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, hit those in the chat box. Subscribe, like this video if you like it, and hope to see you next time and make today your best day ever.